Alex, welcome back to the cave, I should say for you.
Great to be back, Elias. It's really, really great to be back.
So, people are going to know you from Kevin Kneff himself, which premieres in a few days on AMC Plus, August 22nd. How's this ride been for you so far, man? Because we've been waiting a while for season 2 to drop.
Yeah, it has been a ride. Like, there's no other way around it. You know, AMC, we finished the first season. We felt great about it. People were into the first season. We probably would have liked it to have a larger place in the zeitgeist, but you know, it definitely has a home. It definitely has a following, and but there was still some uncertainty, right? Like after the first season, it's like it wasn't this like, you know, Stranger Things, like Breaking Bad, like take over, you know, everyone's television, but it was also a really, really, can I curse on here? I forget.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, a really fucking good series of television. So we were confident in that. We were confident in the work. So, but AMC kind of drug it out, you know, the decision for longer than, you know, we would have liked. So it was like this kind of summer, you know, summer of waiting and not knowing, and then finally getting the call that we got picked up was incredible. That we were going back to Boston. And then about a week later after that, so it was like this, you know, hell yeah moment. And then a week after that, I got a call from Valerie and Craig, our showrunner creators, saying, we're still on for season 2, but this is going to be the last one. So that was a little bittersweet, you know, kind of a tough pill to swallow. But after all is said and done, I think my castmates would agree with me. It was, you know, a really sort of humane way to do it, you know, in an industry that can be sometimes not that way. Knowing going in, and from a personal perspective that, you know, we can plan accordingly, and also from a storytelling perspective that we're able to wrap up all loose ends and tell, you know, to make 16 really, really good episodes of television was awesome. So I'm super excited for everyone to see it.
Yeah. Well, first of all, the way the season 1 ended, we needed a season 2 because, you know, you're, spoiler alert, if anybody hasn't finished watching season 1 yet, you're on the ground bleeding pretty much.
I take a beer bottle to the back of the skull and I go down hard, and I'm pretty big, so it was a pretty hard fall. Yeah, I was definitely, I would have been so bummed had it gone out like that, because you know, what also happened in that moment was, you know, so again, spoilers for those that haven't seen, but Neil, he was literally hit into reality for the first time. He had to reckon and face his consequences, and Kevin and Neil in the first season, and Pete never had to do that in the first season, which is why they're living in, you know, sort of the multicam reality. There's no consequences in that reality, but for the first time, he felt physical pain. He bled, and he bled at the hands of you know, his sister and his neighbor, who he had been, you know, had treated like shit for his entire life, you know. So thrust into the single cam in that final scene, and season 2 picks back up right where we left off. Right? We start from that very same moment and kind of getting to see the fallout and the aftermath of that. It was awesome. It was if I couldn't have drawn up a better arc for Neil, for my character, for sure.
Now, so when season 2 got picked up and did you read all the scripts, or did you read an episode at a time about what was happening?
We would get them like an episode at a time. So I'm trying to think, maybe they sent us the first 2, but I'm pretty sure we would get an episode at the time. So yeah, I would read them as we got them, and just that first episode, it really laid the foundation for a really, really cool journey that Neil was going to go on, you know. So I sort of knew after that first episode, and you're going to air this after, right? So I can So yeah, after that first episode, even though Neil spends half of it, all of it tied up in a basement, bleeding out, you know, immobile, I knew that, you know, based on the dialogue that he had with Allison and Patty, that he was going to be involved, and he was going to be somebody that not only Patty and Allison had to deal with, but also someone that was going to go through a lot. So being exclusively in multicam in season 1, and getting to see in the first episode, I'm not in any multicam scenes. I'm just in single cam. So that,
Right.
that lays the foundation for what's in store for Neil for the rest of the season.
Yeah. Did you find like those seeds now like a little challenging to play the role of Neil when you're not when you're out of the multicam world, or did you find it easy also?
Yeah, it's, it's interesting. Like I was just telling some friends, which is weird because I'm a comedian first, right? I perform,
Yeah.
I'm a member of the Groundlings main company. So I'm a groundling, and I perform comedy, and I perform these like, super physical, wacky characters. And I haven't really done a ton of drama, I'll be honest with you. And when I was hired for season 1, it was pitched like this, you're in the multicam. So
Yeah.
sort of right up my alley there. And I haven't done a ton of drama. So it's weird to say this, but it was actually kind of a departure for me, even though no one's seen me do, no one's seen me do any drama, or I'll now, all told, have done more dramatic work on this show than comedic. But what I will say, how I approach comedy is that everything means so much, right? And there's so much emotion behind my comedy. And so when you pair that emotion with something silly or small, can oftentimes generate laughs. But when you take that same emotion and make it about something serious or something heavy, the feelings are still there. You know what I mean? Just from an acting perspective. And I couldn't have asked for a better situation to have kind of my first, dramatic role, in that I already knew Neil. I had already done all the work on Neil. I knew this guy
Right.
inside and out season 1, because I really delved into his history. There were clues in season 1. If you go back and listen, he has a criminal record. He spent time in jail. He has a public defender. He's obsessed with fire. He discovered his mom dead. You know what I mean? So some dark shit has happened to this guy. And we're told that through dialogue. And if you listen closely, and now seeing Neil in single cam, it all makes sense. So knowing all that stuff, it was really, really fun to get to, as we say in comedy and acting, ground this guy, because the version of Neil is this like, sort of like cartoon dope, but he's a real person, you know what I mean? And that was just so much fun I think it'll be a lot of fun for people to see that. And I will say this too, like, so much fun bringing in the weight of what happens to Neil in single cam into the multicam scene. So
Right.
Neil's still involved in the multicam. He's still there, but there's what he's going through now behind the scene. I think it makes it really interesting and fun to watch.
What are you hoping for with like the fans return to watch a series? What are you hoping for they get out of it? And what was your reaction also when you were going through the scripts of each episode of what was happening?
It was just really exciting. You know what I mean? It was just like we could really, I'm obviously not a writer on the show. I don't have any say over that, but like Valerie and Craig and the rest of the writers like can really push the envelope and really sort of go there, and we did that. And it's obviously still Allison and Patty's story for sure. So watching them navigate it and figure it out and be flawed, not know the answers, try things and have them not work, but ultimately doing it together for a common goal is to get Allison her life back. And I was just so happy to be an integral part of that journey for them. So I got to go through, Neil got to go through his own, he's going through his own shit, but in conjunction with Allison and Patty not only have to figure out what they're going to do about Allison and how they're going to sort of set her free, for lack of a better term, but also how they're going to do that while managing Neil, who is, unhinged at times. He's depressed. He goes on bender. There's a lot that happens to this guy, and he could. This is kind of a spoiler, so I don't know if you can take it out or whatever, but he could potentially spoil their entire plans. So he's sort of that ticking time bomb element to their story, that he's like this, the kind of the wild card. They don't know what to do with him. And so I mean, each script was super exciting, and I was really, really happy to be to have a full kind of complete arc like all the characters really do. So
I feel like Neil, because I watched the second season, feel like his character was bigger? Like the role was bigger for you this season. What do you think?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's just from like in season one, to give viewers a little insight into how we shot this thing. So we would film all the multicam scenes for 2 episodes in like a week and a half's time, or like sometimes a week. We would really, because with multicam, you're shooting 4 cameras at once. So there's really not a ton of adjustments and angles and things that you need. So you can really plow through some stuff. So season one, only being in multicam, we would shoot for 2 episodes in about a week or week and a half. And then I'd be off for like 2-3 weeks while they were filming and stuff. So just from a workload perspective this season, I was working every single week, from, sometimes it'd be 1 day, sometimes it would be all 5 days. So just from a workload perspective, yeah, it was much more involved. And again, just to be a bigger part of Allison's story was an honor, and just so much fun.
So we know, like, your best friend is Eric Peterson's character, Kevin. How do you describe that chemistry? And what's the big difference now, would you say, from season 1 to season 2?
Well, first of all, I love Eric. Fun fact for the viewers too. Eric, Raymond Lee, who plays Sam on the show, and myself, we decided to rent a house together while we were filming.
Okay.
We called it, we're all dads, so we called it the Dad Pad. And we really bonded. There was a ping pong table in there, and we, play ping pong and watch sports and run lines with each other, and help each other for auditions for other things as they were coming in. It was really a cool experience. So I love him as a person, and that chemistry was like from day one when we were doing the chemistry test, basically before we got the parts. But so that was easy in season 1, because Neil and Kevin are, like, Kevin is Neil's king. In season 2, Neil, for the first time, what happens is when he's thrust into that single cam lens, that single cam reality, his worldview starts to kind of crumble. And he starts to sort of look inward for the first time and realize that he's in an abusive relationship with Kevin too. Kevin he's a manipulator, a narcissist with everyone that he is around. And you see that play out. So this season in multicam, you see that start to deteriorate as well. You see that. And then obviously when Kevin's not there in single cam, you feel that weight. You feel that because Neil is like he's like a golden retriever. He's like loyal as can be. You can do whatever to him and he'll still be by your side. And this season you see Neil go, wait a second, you're actually not that good to me. In fact, you're actually terrible to me. So having that, and watching that relationship play out was a joy. You know what I mean? It was a joy. So,
I mean, Kevin's he pretty much has like a negative effect on all the characters.
Yeah, he really does. And you see that. You'll watch the season and you'll see how he affects literally everyone on the show. Obviously mostly Allison. I mean, that's what our show focuses on, but you see it, the trickle down effect, and that's what manipulators and narcissists kind of tend to do. They don't pick favorites. It's all about them, and it's all about Kevin. And you do get to see later in the season, you get to see some of that for real, and it's awesome. It's so gratifying because, like Neil in the first season, when you saw him put his hands around Allison's neck and strangle her and try to get his phone back, and then that was for the first time where all that other information that I talked about prior about his criminal history, about being obsessed with fire, you're like, oh shit, that was all real. Like, and now I'm just seeing it. Oh shit. And then everything, all those sort of funny laugh lines become real in your brain because you can actually see it. You saw it play out. You saw that sort of like darkness that Neil had, and seeing that with Kevin is no different.
If you could do a Neil spinoff, what would you want to see?
I've of course played this mental game in my head. There is no being fully candid. There is no plan, at least that I'm aware of.
Right.
But I think Neil, it would continue to be his struggle, sort of finding himself. I would love it to be more, like I spent all told a year in Boston making both seasons, combined. And there's some like heavy hitting dudes out there. Like you down in Southie, like you don't want to talk to those guys. You know what I mean? Like there's some real there's a grit to that city. And so I would like to see Neil get caught up in some shit that he was way in over his head. You know what I mean? Like like running guns or, like that sort of stuff while he's still trying to like find himself. You know what I mean? It's almost like it could be similar to Allison trying to get out of her reality. Like Neil, he goes off into the world and has to figure out his. So obviously he's got other like crazy oddball characters. Right. The cast of characters that could support a Neil story would be fucking awesome.
Like I don't want to give out too much spoilers, but I love it in the last episode we see you near the end and what exactly I don't want to give it out. You stare at and you just walk away.
Walk away. He's walking, and that's it. That's for the first. He's walking into the world for the very first time. His worldview has been Worcester. That's all he's known, and he's been cool with that. And now he's for the first time being sort of thrust out of that and how to deal with that. What happens?
So Kevin Kneff himself, August 22nd, AMC. What's next for you now? Any other projects you're allowed to tell us about before we end the interview?
Yeah, I filmed a fun movie with a friend over the summer called The Misadventures of Vincent Hick. It's a really cool, like modern spaghetti western. The director, Trevor Stevens, is like super awesome. You're gonna hear about this kid. And then I'm currently in the main company show at the Groundlings. It's every Friday and Saturday night. 7:30 we do a sketch show, so sketch comedy like you'd see on SNL. 9:30 we do an improv set where we make it up on the spot. The show is called Captain Groundlings All You Can Eat Crab Shack. Tickets are available at the Groundlings, so there's that. I have a few other things in the works potential things in the works that I can't talk about, but they're exciting. And
how long before we see you on SNL? I know we talked about that in the last interview.
Who knows? Who the hell knows? I mean, all I know is I'm doing my thing. I love doing sketch comedy. I love making people laugh, and I do feel like I'm pretty good at it. So that I'm going to continue to do that. I have the Groundlings as a home and an outlet. And honestly, other than that, you'll catch me at my local playground or farmer's market with me and my wife and my 2 kids in tow.
That's right. Alex, how can the listeners and the viewers find you on social media?
I'm just at Alex Bonifer across the board. Alex Bonifer. I'm more active on Instagram than I am Twitter, I'll be honest. So yeah, if you're interested and you want to see pictures of what I got going on, which is Kevin Kneff himself, Groundlings, and my kids, follow along.
There you go. Alex, thanks for returning for this fun chat.
Of course, man. It was a pleasure. Thank you, Elias. Really appreciate it.